We have been focused for the last couple of weeks on Virginia's 11th congressional district seat, which was left vacant after the passing of the Congressman Jerry Connolly. And over the weekend, the parties chose their nominees. But that's just one district. Across the Commonwealth, voters are also electing a new governor. They're also deciding who will control both the state House and the state Senate. So we'll talk about that tonight. Virginia Delegate Dan Helmer up with you tonight here on the Final Five. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
So good to see you, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so here we are. We're in the summertime. This is where all of you who usually serve in Richmond go back to your districts and you start trying to make plans for these crucial elections here. Let's talk about what the landscape is for the Democrats in 2025.
Well, you know, I'm the campaigns chair for the House Democratic Caucus, so I get to see all of these races, and the energy out there for a party that is right now focused on lowering costs in the face of the attacks on our Commonwealth, our livelihoods by Trump and Musk is just astonishing. We have candidates in every single one of the 100 districts, and we have an incredible nominee for governor in Abigail Spanberger, who are really excited. Someone who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, having someone with her national security background, her accomplishments in Congress at the top of our tickets, alongside with candidates who are focused on making sure we lower costs, on fighting for education, on making sure we keep our community safe, is a really exciting place to be as the campaigns chair.
So these are statewide issues, and for a lot of people, local district issues. When you mentioned, and one thing that Abigail Spanberger has spoken about when she's been on the show before is the effect of those DOGE cuts and what we're seeing in various districts. How do you? I have no insight on how the Republicans are going to face this, but do you look at national issues on this? When you mentioned President Trump, I mean, how much does that loom over these what can usually be some hyper-local races?
Well, look what Trump and Musk have done to our economy and to costs as their bad tariff policy is making things more expensive. Certainly affects us, but we're also running on something. We're making sure that we fight to lower the costs of Virginians in terms of housing. As Republicans nationally are taking $800 billion out of Medicaid, we're fighting right now to make sure that health care is affordable. We're working every single day to make sure that every child in Virginia has access to a world-class education. And we're tired of seeing shootings and violence in our streets. We're working every single day to take on the NRA and the gun lobby to make sure that we are promoting responsible gun ownership that allows gun owners to have their firearms responsibility, but also make sure that our kids are safe in our schools.
So 4 years ago, when we had, because again, Virginia, you elect a new governor every 4 years, the big issues seem to be a lot about the parental issues in Loudoun County. But then 2 years ago, in those midterm elections, where the Democrats retook control of the state house, a lot was made about Governor Youngkin's attempt to implement a 15-week abortion ban. Is there an overriding issue that you're going to see every one of those candidates run on that's a universal message? Or are you going to stick to those issues?
These are candidates who are from their communities, know their communities well, and represent exactly what people are looking for in terms of public servants. And they are out there every day talking to their neighbors to understand the specific things that matter in their community. And we know that they are hearing from their constituents or their future constituents that people are really worried about costs. They're really worried about the impact of the DOGE cuts. They see health care costs increasing on the horizon, the taking away of Medicaid. And so they're fighting to fix that. And it stands in stark contrast to Republicans who are too terrified of Donald Trump to stand up on making sure we protect abortion rights in Virginia, to make sure that we protect our freedoms and keep our communities safe. And there's a really stark contrast, and I think you're going to see that in every single district.
So back to Abigail Spanberger for a moment, because she was somebody who was determined to be the most bipartisan member of the Virginia congressional delegation, and clearly that's something that Democrats, from her campaign standpoint, you're going to look at that to kind of appeal to voters on all sides of the spectrum out there. Does that work? Is that a one-size-fits-all approach where you're going to look for help from Republican voters as well, or are you looking just to rally your own bases here?
We are looking for every single person who looks at what's going on in the country and Virginia right now and wants to make sure that there is an answer that says, look, I should be able to get a doctor visit and still be able to afford it. I want to make sure that we're not politicizing education, but instead making sure we get great teachers into our schools and we fund our kids' schools that aren't firing university presidents, but instead making sure that we use that economic engine of our Commonwealth. I don't think those are Republican issues or Democrat issues. I did, as did Abigail. Abigail served in the CIA. I served in the military. I never asked the soldier sitting next to me, are you Republican or are you Democrat? Instead, it was focusing on common cause and mission to get some something done on behalf of our country. That's the approach that Democrats are taking here in Virginia. We're fighting to make sure no matter who you are, no matter what party you subscribe to, that you know that we are here working on behalf of you to lower costs and to make sure that your kid has access to an excellent education, a great teacher in their school, and if you get sick, you can go to the hospital.
All right, so we don't have too much longer before early. I mean, I know we're here in the beginning of July now, but early voting is really, in the grand scheme of things, not too far away. Do you find this cycle is much more challenging now than it was before, now that voters can get out there early?
I think, you know, we're really excited that Democrats, when we had the majority and the governor's mansion, made it easier to vote. I believe in a country as a immigrant, as the son of an immigrant, as the grandson of refugees, that promotes democracy, promotes voting. And the fact that you can vote for 45 days beforehand in Virginia without an excuse, I think, is great. I think the issues that can confront voters on Election Day are not incredibly different than the issues that can confront them 45 days before. It is the extreme agenda that's getting in the way of what we want to do, which is to make sure we lower costs and promote a great education for our kids.
Delegate Dan Helmer, good to see you again. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. And the Final Five is back right for this.